recall, Watson, that my recent excursion into the manor house had revealed some curious facts. First, I had noticed in the grounds about the house the prints of a three-legged retriever dog, similar to those which I had observed outside the hut in which Natty Dan had died. Furthermore, it appeared that such a dog was almost certainly being concealed somewhere about the house. Later, a dummy in full evening dress was discovered hidden in the nearby woods. But what was the link that bound these disparate elements together? Here, indeed, was a puzzle.
Well, it becomes abundantly plain that the binomial theorem and Professor James Moriarty hold not the slightest interest for me.
I've been a bit about the world, and troubles I've seen a few. I thought it better in every time to have my own for me. Me wants is small, I cares not at all if me debts is paid when due. I drive out strife it.
Mr. Sherlock, I thought all the family was out.
All but me, Mrs. Cunliffe. I miraculously managed to contract a severe and incurable headache. This must be your Mr. Hudson.
Tom Hudson, sir. How'd you do? I've heard a deal about you from a little Liza Ann here. You know, full of you she is.
Tom, know your place. Of course, Mr. Sherlock, he doesn't normally make himself at home in my kitchen like this.
I know the missus don't like followers.
Well, I'll not intrude.
No, you just sit yourself down and welcome. How about a nice cup of tea, eh?
Thank you, Mrs. Cunliffe. That would be very nice. Well, do play, Tom. I like the song, that's why I came down.
All right, you are then. Anything to oblige you, gent. So love your neighbour as yourself, as the world you go travelling through. And never sit down with a tear nor a frown, but paddle your own canoe.
I heard Harry Clifton himself sing that song, Mr. Sherlock, when he come to the Corn Exchange in Preston last year.
Ah, Liza Ann, when you become Mrs. Hudson and come to live with me in my cosy little house in Baker Street, we shall visit all the music halls in town. The Alhambra, the Canterbury, the Oxford, the Old Mo.
The Old Mo?
But the Middlesex Music Hall, Mr. Holmes, Drury Lane. Yeah, that used at one time to be the Mogul Saloon. Somehow the nickname stuck.
A Bag of Woman, Old Mo Music Hall. So that's it. The woman at a music hall. I see at last, Tom, what Natty was trying to tell me. Thanks, Tom.
What did I say?
John, there's a Mr. Hamish MacTaggart to see you.
Who? Never heard of him.
He's a photographer in Preston and says he's having some trouble with his eyes.
I've been having a bit of trouble focusing, Doctor. Oh, very well. Sit down, we'll take a look at you. Right then, head back. Head back. Well, what's going on? Sherlock! Look, I'm getting extremely tired of this tomfoolery. You've done nothing recently but waste my time.
Caught again, eh, Johnny? Of course, I spotted the trick the moment he came in.
How?
Well, I happen to know the real Hamish MacTaggart young'un. Well, I met him once in the tap room at the Bull Hotel. You want to be more careful who you pretend to be.
Well, I've got to be H. MacTaggart. You see, I borrowed his trap, equipment, and calling cards.
Then, might I suggest, Hamilton, cousin and partner, and the more brilliant photographer of the two, naturally.
Yes, will somebody kindly explain?
He's going out to the manor house, John. I think it most unwise, but he'll not listen to me.
You see, John, I think I have solved the mystery of Natty Dan's last message. But if I'm to be certain, it's imperative that I secure a photographic likeness of Mrs. Turnbull.
Look, it is my opinion that you should give any information or ideas that you may have to Sergeant Grimshaw and let him handle it.
John, that would be a complete waste of time.
I agree with the young'un there. If that man had a fly on his nose, you couldn't be certain he'd spot it.
All right, if you intend to ignore any words of advice we may offer, what exactly was the purpose of your visit?
Oh, simply to ascertain whether my disguise passed muster. I'll let you know what happens. Hey,
Well, I do think the two of you might have made some attempt to stop him. Just hope he doesn't land himself in any trouble up there, that's all.
You know, Charlotte, a bit of good old-fashioned trouble might do him the world of good. Might knock some of the cockiness out of him.
Despite my outward display of confidence before the doctors, I was more than a little apprehensive as I drove that morning towards the manor house. Could this enterprise be successful?
Wait here. I will inform my master.
Who are you?
Hamilton McTaggart's the name's up. Talking about a place.
Don't get up. What the devil are you doing here?
Well, I've been commissioned, sir, by the Lord Lieutenant to photograph the notable families of the county.
We knew nothing of this.
So I understand, sir. My cousin and partner led me to believe an appointment had been made, but there has evidently been a mix-up. A very nice foreign gentleman is attempting to sort it out for me at this very moment.
You know, there's something all too familiar about you.
A lot of people say that, sir. The penalty of being undistinguished.
Yes. Very probably.
If we do not admit him, he will only pester us for a later appointment. If we refuse to give him permission to photograph you at all, we will be behaving uncharacteristically. Well do I know the British gentry's love of being photographed. For posterity, as they say. Therefore, we shall admit him, and get it over and done with. My master has graciously consented to being photographed, but he requests that you take up as little of his time as possible, Mr. MacTaggart.
Before you can say, Jack Robinson, I am a master of my craft. Ah, lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, now, when I give you the signal, I want you all to stay very, very still. It may take a little time, but I beg you not to move a muscle until I give you the word. Oh, just one more thing. The young man, Mr. Moron. Can you give me a bigger smile? Oh, dearie me. That's better. Wee bitty more, perhaps. Splendid. All right. And hold it.
What are you doing?
Ah, Charity. I have something for you.
I don't want any of your horrid presents.
Not even a photograph of Mr. Jasper Moran.
Ooh!
There is one condition. I want you to promise me that you will never, ever, as long as I'm in this house, make any more silly remarks at my expense.
All right. I promise.
Swear.
I swear.
Right. Here you are, then.
I had my fingers crossed.
Right!
I warn you, I am listening to you on sufferance, and woe betide you if I find you're wasting my time again.
I am not, I assure you, John. Look, just listen. Tom Hudson has taken the photograph to London. Now, he's a guard on the mail train, so he's up and down the whole time. He's going to take it to the Middlesex Music Hall and show it around. See if anybody recognises her. You see, I was on the wrong track. The word old Mo led me, mistakenly, to believe that we were looking for some aged female itinerant. But Natty Dan was obviously trying to tell me something about Mrs. Turnbull.
You don't know that!
She was almost certainly the last woman he saw before he died, John, and it is my belief that he recognised her.
Pure conjecture!
Well, Tom Hudson will be back in a day or two, and we'll see. You'll believe me yet? Just see if you don't.
All right.
Grimshaw has called for his embrocation, John.
Oh, it's all ready, my dear. Over there.
Have you discovered where the dummy came from yet, Sergeant?
Clitheroe.
Well, that's miles away.
There's been a spate of them stolen. 6 in all have been reported, all over the county. Preston, Darwin, Garstang, Adlington and Rottenstall. And always the same story. Gypsies seen in the area. Ours is the only one that's been recovered to date.
There you are, Sergeant. It's very efficacious.
Many thanks, Mrs. Whitney. Mr. Holmes, seeing as how I've obliged you with certain information, perhaps now you'd be good enough to oblige me.
If I can.
You're Mrs. Cunliffe now.
Mrs. Cunliffe? What about her?
Where's her husband?
Dead. Long ago. Killed in India. Nothing suspicious. He was a soldier, you see.
Oh. Oh, so she's a widow woman, then?
Exactly.
If it's not an indelicate question, Mr. Holmes, how old do you suppose the good lady to be?
36 or so, I believe. She looks older, but then she's had a hard life.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. I'm very much obliged. Well, good day, Doctor. Good day, Mr. Whitney.
What was all that about?
Oh, Sherlock, really? Sometimes you can be so obtuse.
I thought, Mrs. Cunliffe, that if I provided the rabbit, you might, at some mutually convenient time, agree to provide the pie.
You've got a cheek, Sergeant Grimshaw, and that's for certain.
And I brought these for you. Picked them myself, I did.
Oh, chanterelles.
Aye. Yellow as egg yolks, sweet smelling as apricots, and just the thing for a rabbit pie, Mrs. Cunliffe. Believe you me. Oh, mind, Trudy?
Why, Mr. Hudson, not at all.
Well, I wondered if I might have a word with young Sherlock. I got what he wanted.
I'll go and fetch him. You two make yourself known to each other.
All right, then. Who are you?
Looking for me, Mrs. Cunliffe?
Oh, Mr. Sherlock, you did give me a start. What are you doing in the dark?
Cultivating my eyesight, Mrs. Cunliffe.
Well, really, I've heard some queer things in my time, but that just about takes the biscuit. Any road, Mr. Hudson's here to see you.
Oh, good.
Where's Sergeant Grimshaw?
I've seen him off.
Tom, you never did.
I know these policemen. If they can find a table to get their feet under, and a rabbit pie to get their teeth into, you'll never rid of them. And a confounded impertinence to refer to you as cookie.
All that man thinks about is food.
Ah, well, you see, Mrs. Cunliffe. Kissing don't last, cookery do. Well, Tom, any luck?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they knew her all right. She used to work there. Name's Bessie Bright. Seems she's quite well known in her way, or was. Did monologues, character impersonation, that sort of thing. But she dropped out of sight 2 or 3 years back. Haven't been seen there since.
Thank you, Tom. That is most useful. Mrs. Cunliffe, where did this come from?
It was round the mushroom Sergeant Grimshaw brought.
May I take it?
Yes, of course. I'd only throw it out.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea what he's up to?
Not a notion, but it takes his mind off things.
So, John, what do we have? A female character impersonator, a concealed retriever dog, which it appears walks on 3 legs, and 6 dummies stolen from various shops. The fog begins to lift.
Well, not over here, it doesn't.
But even more significant are the names of the towns from which those dummies were stolen, in order: Preston, Darwin, Garstang, Adlington, and Rottenstall. Now, take the initial letter of each of those towns. P, D, G, A, R. Then insert 2 letters between each of them. E, N, A, R, H, M, N, O. And what do you have? Pendarg Manor. The brain behind this is adept at cryptographs.
Oh, I say, that's a bit far-fetched, isn't it? And in any case, 6 dummies in all were stolen, and the last one came from Clitheroe.
Aha! That puts the kibosh on your cryptograph.
Not in the least. You see, I believe the last one was a mistake, was rejected and consequently abandoned in the woods. Dr. Sauerbatz, may I borrow your telescope?
By all means. Well, let me see. Where did I last see it?
It's hanging in the hall. Thanks.
What do you make of all this?
Most interesting. I mean, fancy old Turnbull marrying a gal from the music hall stage. Oh, the old dog.
Oh, really, George?
Selecting a suitable vantage point, which afforded me an unobstructed view of the front of the manor house, I settled down to what I expected would be a long vigil.
Well, goodness alone knows where that boy is. He's not in his room.
Don't worry, my dear. He'll turn up.
Like a bad penny.
But just supposing something's happened to him. What would people think of us then? Mrs. Cunliffe, have you any idea where Sherlock is?
None at all, Mum.
Well, then perhaps you'd slip down to Dr. Whitney's and see if he's there. It's where he seems to spend most of his time these days.
Very well, Mum.
After several hours, my vigilance was at last rewarded. For suddenly the light in the window I was watching began to grow perceptibly brighter.
John, Mrs. Cunliffe's here looking for Sherlock. Have you any idea where he might be?
Well, I have an idea where he was going. Isn't he back yet?
We've not seen any ride of him since early this afternoon, sir.
Oh, don't worry, Mrs. Cunliffe. I'm sure my husband will be able to find him. Won't you, dear?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Sherlock, do come down.
No, John. You come up here just for a minute. You must.
Very well, but I want you to know that I do this under protest. Come on, John.
In there, John. As I predicted, you'll find the answer to your missing dummies.
Good heavens.
You are still not fast enough, Mrs. Turnbull. You have half an hour, not a minute more. Exactly half an hour. Soup, fish, sirloin of beef, and dessert in half an hour.
Look, dearie, I can't eat another blooming thing.
This is no time to lose your appetite, Mrs. Turnbull. We will begin again.
Now, look. You can do what you blooming well like, Ducky, but I've told you. I've had enough.
It's all right.
The professor has arrived. She's in here, Professor. There's no need for that.
Sooner safe than sorry, Colonel.
Would you object overmuch if I smoked a cigar?
Not in the least.
Thank you so much. Now, do you think she'll be all right?
Oh, I am quite certain that she will be.
She better be. If she's not 100%, she puts us all at risk.
Any one of us who is not 100% puts the others at risk, Colonel.
Well, she went completely to pieces. You really think she's still capable of seeing this through?
You forget, Colonel, that our Mrs. Turnbull is a professional performer. I am quite certain that the professor will be able to inspire in her that combination of dedication and egotism that will ensure a superb performance on the night, as she might say.
I hope you're right. There's a great deal of money at stake.
You underestimate us, Colonel. Have no fear. She will do her duty. The professor will see to that.
I can't!
You can, you must, and you shall.
Despite the long, cold vigil of the night, both John Whitney and I were about early the following morning, for we had much to occupy our minds.
Good morning, John.
Sherlock.
It's a beautiful morning, and it's good to be alive.
How did you get in?
Through the conservatory. I didn't like to pull the bell.
I should jolly well think you didn't. What time is it?
Oh, the day's not young. It must be almost 7.
Have you had any sleep?
Not a wink. I was far too excited. I say, did you get a wigging when you got home last night?
Yes, I did.
I thought you might. Well, I did too. Do you know, Aunt Rachel says it's the first time in her entire life she's ever stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Just fancy. Now look, what do you want now?
I think it is most important that we say nothing of last night to anyone.
If we spend half the night up a tree spying on the people at the Manor House, don't worry. I've not the slightest intention of trumpeting that fact around the village.
I mean specifically to that Sergeant Grimshaw. We don't want him blundering in simply to discover 5 stolen dummies, not yet.
I hope you know what you're doing.
It is surely significant that when that rider arrived, the candles in the room we were observing were extinguished, and the charade, I imagine, stopped. Yet for several hours, lights continued to burn elsewhere, and were carried at various other times into every other room in the house. There was almost continuous movement, room to room, right up to the moment when we finally left.
I have to admit that to me, nothing in this affair thus far makes any sense whatsoever.